great initial question. You know, a lot of people don't understand what business process management really is. In 2003, I wrote a book called Business Process Management is a Team Sport, Played to Win. And in that book, I defined business process management as the disciplined definition, improvement, and the management of the key business processes that create value for customers and for shareholders. So I think that's a good general definition of business process management. Well, I think the key concept is that processes look across the organization at the key things that a company does to create value for customers. So processes are used to deliver products or services to customers, or to develop brand new products or services. And so if you look at a company in a process context, what happens is you don't look at what the departments do individually, but you look at how departments collaborate together to create value. And this is a different paradigm for a lot of companies, because so many companies are still used to thinking about what they do in terms of their departments. So they have sales, marketing, finance, customer service, engineering, and they look at how a company functions in a departmental context. But the fact of the matter is, to create value for customers, departments have to collaborate, they have to work together. And that's where process management comes in. Well, that is really the challenge of process management, and that is the power of process management as well, is by getting departments to understand how work flows across the organization. They can then modify some of the things that they do. They can eliminate non-value added handoffs, they can get rid of outdated policies and rules, they can work together to create value. And that in itself, of course, is the key benefit of process management. Well, the tools have evolved significantly since the early 2000s. The most common set of tools, or suite of tools, is called BPMS, Business Process Management Suites. And they're a suite of technology tools that allow organizations to model and measure their business processes in a way that simply wasn't possible 15 or 20 years ago. And business process management suites have multiple components. They have the modeling capability, they have the measurement or business intelligence capability, they have a business rules capability, they have portals to enhance communication, they have multiple components that allow companies to understand and improve their business processes in a new and novel way. And it's this set of tools that have evolved over the last 10 years that gives an organization the ability not only to model how work flows across different departments, but to measure the performance of the process, to better manage the documents that are involved in improving the process, to create better communication electronically, and really reduce the number of non-value added meetings that take place. So these are a very powerful set of tools. So certainly the modeling part of process improvement and management is a science. Okay, modeling, you know, that's technical. You step A, step B, step C, so forth and so on. But how to improve a process is just as much art as science, because it requires that people work together, and that requires communication, it requires collaboration. And those things are not scientific, those things are discovered as you proceed in improving a process from its current state to its future state. And that's why process improvement is as much art as it is science. How can we improve the degree of cooperation between different teams in the company? I think the best way to do that is to give them a common goal, and give them a goal that relates to performing for customers. And when you do that, the teams tend to work more closely together. You know, I've been working in this field for 20 years, and when we work with organizations and we create a model of a given process, whether it's new product development, procurement, order fulfillment, And we get the people from the teams into a room to look at the schematic of how the process works. The very first thing that they say is, "Oh my gosh, I never knew that it worked just like that. I never realized that what I do impacts what other people do in other departments in delivering products or giving great customer service, what have you." And so to get people to work together, you need to have a picture of how work flows across the organization, and you need to have a common goal that's directly linked to performing for customers. Well, that's a great question. You know, it really is a matter of leadership, operational leadership, and the leadership must understand and must believe that when they create value for customers, they automatically create value for shareholders and the board. And that's a fundamental concept that is key. And leadership teams have to understand that this cross-functional or cross-departmental collaboration is key. And they need to use the tools, the BPM tools that are available, so that the heads of the various departments gain a shared understanding of how they need to work together to improve the process that they're working on. Whether it's developing new products or services, whether it's delivering products or services on time, defect-free to customers, whatever the process is that they're looking at, it's really up to the leadership to lead the way in this regard. Well, I think there's a number of things that a leader has to have. First of all, they have to have passion for improving performance for customers. Next, they have to have imagination. They have to be able to imagine a better and more novel way of running the business. Third, they have to really have a compelling case for change, something that resonates with the frontline workers. Because the leaders, of course, can set direction, but it's up to the rest of the organization to take action. So I read an article a few years ago that had a great definition of leadership. A leader is someone who has willing followers, and that's the role of the leader, is to create a compelling case for change so that people work with the leader to create and improve business processes. I think the important thing is to apply those concepts, a company needs a champion, someone on the leadership team who believes that it's time for a change. It's time to look at business differently. It's time to run the business differently. And once there's a champion who has credibility and authority in the leadership team, and they subscribe to the concepts that I describe in my book on operational leadership, then there's a chance for dialogue. Because much of this requires dialogue. It's not something that you can push down into the organization. It's something that people have to agree to. So many companies measure the financial aspects of performance, revenue, margins, gross profit, and net profit, and they forget about what's important to the customer. But customers are easy because we're all customers. We know what we want. What we want is we want flawless execution of product or service delivery. We want responsiveness. Those are the things that we want. So companies should measure what matters to customers, and they should integrate that into the leadership team's scorecard. So not just measure the traditional financial things, but also measure the key things that matter to customers, which is flawless product or service delivery and responsiveness and keeping promises are the three major things that customers want. And if a company does that, it will help shift the culture of the organization from a very traditional culture to a more customer-focused paradigm. Well, of course, how do we align the efforts of frontline workers with the overall strategy? Well, that assumes that there is a strategy, and that assumes that the strategy can be expressed not only in departmental terms, but also in process terms. So in order to align the efforts of our frontline workers, we need a strategy that is expressed in process terms. What do we want to do in terms of acquiring new customers? What do we want to do in terms of delivering orders? What do we want to do strategically in new product development? What do we want to do strategically in order fulfillment, procurement, and the other key processes that many companies have? And once we can express our strategy in a process context and link it directly to what matters to customers, then it is possible to create a compelling, exciting case for change that frontline workers will respond to. Well, a team practices. Before they play a game, they go out and they practice. They practice together. They practice their passing, they practice their goal shooting, they practice their defense. They practice various elements of the sport that is going to help them to be successful in the game when they play the game. Leadership teams don't practice. They don't practice at all. They don't practice together in terms of understanding their respective roles in the key business processes that create value. Now, if leadership teams practiced like football teams do, we'd have much more collaborative organizations.